Hey guys, welcome back to X-Men Games. So last time I spoke about 5 things that Need for Speed 2015 got right and wrong, so check those out if you haven't already. I'll leave the link for that down in the description below if you want to check that out. But anyway, this time I'm talking about 5 things Uncharted 4 did right, and believe me, there's a lot of things in this list, so it was a really difficult list to make. But first, if you guys haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this, and a special thanks to my friend Henry for helping me make this list, and of course a huge thanks to all my subscribers, you're all amazing. With that said, let's get into it. So the first thing on this list is the combat, and what's great about the combat in this game is its simplicity. It reminds me a lot of the Batman Arkham Asylum game, but the combat, especially in the stealth sections here, are a lot more fluid than that game, and while much of the combat consists of pressing the same button, it's the build-up of tension to that moment that makes it extremely satisfying. Like a stealth takedown can be really tense in some levels, making it quite scary and tense, especially as you're very likely to get caught. What is great is that it gives you the choice to go into encounters all guns blazing, or you can take the time to plan your tactics. Sometimes I think the latter option is more fun, and sometimes it's just the better option. So often you'll have a lot of guys in a level, and they're all armed, and sometimes going head on is not a good choice. I think going into that, the same thing can be said for the shooting mechanics. They are really robust in this game too, and while they don't really differ from modern third-person shooters, especially other ones like GTA 5 for example or Red Dead Redemption, it's that tension still that really sets it apart from other games. There's some really cool action set pieces in this game as well, like that makes the combat even better, like the one where you're jumping from truck to truck while shooting at mercenaries, or using a hook to swing around levels whilst you're shooting at enemies. It's also really fun. So yeah, combat as a whole is very basic, but definitely not in a bad way. It's definitely very, very smooth and full of action. It's so action-packed, and it just makes combat so, so fun. So the next thing on this list is the fantastic story and characters, because they are absolutely amazing. This game has a better story than most high-budget Hollywood films ever. Most games use dramatic irony as an absolute crutch, and often makes them feel really flat, and often makes them feel really empty as well. Or sometimes they just use plot twists that are like either really obvious and predictable. It just never really works well with them. Well, there's none of that here. The game sets out a simple premise. Go around the world with your brother, Sam, and find the treasure to help bail him out of a tie with a mob boss called Hector Alcazar. And things are revealed with halfway through that change everything. I'm not going to say much more than this, as I don't want to completely ruin it for anyone who hasn't played it yet. This is by far one of the best uses of a plot twist that I've ever seen. So the story is great, but what about the main characters? Well, the main protagonist from the previous games, Nathan Drake, returns, along with his brother Sam, as mentioned above, who, by the way, is voiced by Troy Baker, who, if you don't know, is an absolute legend in voice acting. He's played characters in, for example, the Batman games, he's played Robin, Two-Face, and Joker. Absolute legend. Check out some of his work. I might leave a link down in the description down below about that. I'm going to check him out. But, yeah, definitely check out some of his other work. Anyway, these two main characters are just absolutely fantastic and so well written in my opinion. The writers at Naughty Dog have done a really good job. But overall, the great story along with amazing characters make the flow of the narrative and the game so exciting and so fun to follow along with. You know, you really go along with them in this adventure. You never feel like you are Nathan Drake. You feel like you're along with the ride. And while sometimes it doesn't always work, here it definitely does, and it's used to great effect. So the third thing is something that goes hand in hand with the combat, and that is the parkour. Once again, it's very simple like the combat, but it's absolutely brilliant. Like climbing walls or cliffs feels extremely realistic and tense. The way the game developers mark climbable walls is also done really well without being glaringly obvious. This follows the simple concept that a game should hint at the objective without outright telling you what to do, and I think Naughty Dog did a really good job here. I also think jumping around is actually just really fun, and linking back to combat, you often use parkour, in particular climbing, to sneak around enemies and perform takedowns, especially when hanging from ledges. That's very fun. Just throwing a guy off a balcony is always very fun here. As mentioned earlier, the hook is used really well here. It's not something that was in previous Uncharted games. It's something that they've added for this game only, and it's used to such great effect. I think they were really trying to go for that Tomb Raider vibe. But no, this is definitely a good gadget or piece of equipment. It's really used to good effect. But as I said earlier, it's really used here to give some variation in the gunfights, but also make traversal of the levels much more diverse and interesting. So the fourth thing that Uncharted 4 did really well is just the general overall atmosphere. When traversing different parts of different levels, the atmosphere changes everything. The fantastic sound effects, but also the amazing musical score. I think Naughty Dog here did a really good job, especially in whoever did the score. It's a fantastic job. But they really use both the score and the sound effects to their full potential. If I had to compare the atmosphere in some parts of this game to another game, that'd be really difficult, as the atmosphere is always different and always accompanies both the level and the mission at hand. Some parts in the game have an almost Tomb Raider vibe to it, though, while some parts almost feel like a James Bond Mission Impossible mix. I'm sure if you play the game, you'll sort of guess what I'm hinting at there. But the atmosphere is used to such great effect here. Whether you're swinging around in a cave or in a fist fight or in a shootout with enemies, it always perfectly complements what's going on around you or what you're doing. I really don't know what else to say. It's just a really well-made score, well-made sound effects as well. I do sometimes laugh at the terrible British stereotypical accents that some of the enemies do. They are very funny. I think they're deliberately stereotypical, and it is just funny. It's not what any British person talks like, but it's funny to listen to. It's definitely a bit of a parody there. So the fifth and final thing on this list is the levels and just their overall design. And their layout and complexity too. They are just fantastic. Without ruining too many details of the plot, you go from places like Italy to Scotland to even to flashbacks of the protagonist's childhood, both of them. And in every single level in this game, there's so many intricate details. It's just amazing. I think one of the things that makes a game feel not only good in terms of graphical and just good looking, but also in terms of how enjoyable an experience is the detail, the attention to detail, the amount of detail. These developers have definitely done a good job here. It just makes it feel so lived in. Every single level in this game just has it. It's brimming with details. And not only does each level look absolutely brilliant, but the graphics in this game, oh my days, are absolutely beautiful. And despite being, over 5 years old now, this game has aged beautifully. It's definitely one of the most realistic ones I think I've ever seen. There are a few bits, a few parts of the game rather, where I think they've overdone like the brightness or the bloom, as game developers would call it. So basically, what that is light reflecting on objects, and it just comes across as a bit bright. There's definitely a few levels, especially like the forests towards the end of the game. Again, not going to try and ruin too much of that. It can be a bit much. But overall, like driving around some of the levels are just gorgeous. They just look fantastic. There's some like levels as well where they look like, if you took a picture of what they would look like in real life, it looks pitch perfect. Every level here, as I say, is just brimming with detail, and not only in terms of visual terms. I'm also on about like a gameplay perspective. There's so much to do, collectibles to pick up. The detail, it just all adds up here. It makes the game really, really fun. So, they were my picks for the 5 things Uncharted 4 did right. Be sure to comment yours down below, of course. Will we continue this with the 5 things it did wrong? And I've got a couple more videos planned. I'm thinking maybe F1 2020, that deserves a good review before F1 2021 comes out next month, I believe. Might do Ace Combat 7, and Need for Speed Rivals. I will be doing that at some point. If you guys want to comment down below what you think I should do next, what I should be doing right and wrong on, or any other short reviews, that'd be really cool. Definitely comment them down below. I would also like to do Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the remastered version. That would definitely be cool as well. I'd like to do God of War. There's so many games I have planned, but I'd love to do some games on the PS3 like Red Dead Redemption, the original. I would definitely love to do that at some point. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. That'd be greatly appreciated. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
Gli spari venivano da qui! Se tacciate l'aria! Figlio di puttana! Sappiamo che sei qui da qualche parte!